Well, good morning and welcome to Buddha's in your landfill or your moment of Zen. Okay, maybe I need to get a better bell. So yesterday we left off talking about Adam's crack and playing with the metaphor of a cracked cup and or a broken cup and the story of Adam. And remember now, we're not talking about a factual or historical or biblical Adam in the past. We're talking about Adam as you and me, as a metaphor. Adam is a metaphor for you and me. We're all Adam with a crack. We're all Adam trying to get back into the garden. We're all Adam looking for the gates guarded by the two cherubs to get back to not paradise in the past, but just to get back to reality, just to get back to now, just to get out of time and get grounded in our own being. That's where the garden is. The garden is now. It's not in the past or the future, you see. So we're looking for this opening, and so we're inquiring into how do we see the opening? Is there an opening? So we were talking about Adam's crack, and we're going to talk about this as this crack, this exile. You see, Adam and Eve were exiled from the garden. The Jews were exiled. Christians feel like they're exiled, looking for the promised land, looking for the kingdom of God. So, in being in exile is also the feeling of being a victim. The world is not in harmony with me. You know, it's always persecuting me. It's always against me. This feeling of being in exile and being a victim is all in not being at home, not being at one. You see, it all fits together in a particular mindset that is very dominant today, whether you're religious or not. This feeling of conflict, this feeling of having to struggle, of being disrespected, of being disregarded, discounted, forgotten, the forgotten man, the unheard. All of these words are all associated with a sense that we're lost or out of sync, you see. So we're looking into that. We want to know what the truth is. We want to see. And so we're looking today at and this is a very common word, the perfect trap. We make movies about it. The most famous one was with The Sting, with Paul Newman. The Sting is where you set up an opponent or somebody who is going to be trapped by their own strength. So it's kind of like Zen. It's kind of like a martial arts where you use, or judo, where you use the other person's energy or momentum to flip them. You don't do anything. You just let them flip themselves. So you create the perfect trap is where no matter what the squirrel does, he can't get out of the trap. And his effort to get out of the trap creates the trap. That's the sting, where your effort to escape creates the trap. Aha. You can't get out because you're trying to get out creates you're being stuck, you see. So keep that in mind as the perfect trap. So let's take a look at just to finish up this idea of is Adam and his exile from the garden a perfect trap? He wants to get back in the garden, but no matter how he looks, he can't get back. Isn't that the perfect trap? No matter what I'm in a trap, I'm stuck. And my effort, I have to make effort to get out, but my effort creates the trap. So is the effort of Adam to find the garden creating his exile? is his struggle, his desire, his effort, his willpower, his strategies, his plans, all creating the very exile he wants to escape. Let's look into that. I couldn't, so we're looking at the double bind is another name for the perfect trap. A double bind, and we all experience this, a double bind is when no matter what you do, you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. Husbands get caught in double binds all the time. Wives are masters at double binding because no matter what he does, he's wrong. Wrong, if you do wrong, so you're good. You know, so it's like wrong, wrong, or lose, lose. That's a double bind. Now, we all know this, you know. So I just, I couldn't help but, you know, before, you know, I was watching Morning Joe before we, you know, it looks like just I don't want to get make this a political thing, but I just noticed that what's unfolding today is a perfect trap for Trump. In that, when he said, "Obama tapped my phones," or Obama tapped the Trump Tower, and so the Lindsey Graham is going to ask the FBI director, or you know, they're putting pressure on the whether or not this is true or not. Was there a warrant? Was there the only way to have a warrant to tap the phones would be if there is an investigation. So Trump is setting himself up in a sting, because if there was a wiretap, that means he's being investigated. Right? Uh-oh. If there is no wiretap, that means he falsely acclaimed the president did a felony. Uh-oh, that's a lose-lose. But anyway, that's a good example of how these things work. Okay, so we're looking at when you're in a lose-lose or double bind, the basic experience is you have no more time to get out of it. There's no more strategies. Now, a strategy is a means to an end, right? If the end is to get out of this lose-lose where you can become win-win, but when you want to win, you see. So if no matter what you're doing, you still lose, you're running out of time. Because time means I have a strategy. I've got time. I can get to the future, which is a win, through this technique or strategy or these moves. You see, so this involves time. So the crash of the realization of the sting, when you realize that there is nothing you can do to get out, basically means you're out of time. And that is death. Death means you're out of time. Ding, time's up. Time is up, you see. So this is kind of like an abyss. This no more time means no more time is a fear of death. So we're looking at psychological here, not so much as physical death, but that means no more time too. So we're looking at this psychological need to have more time. And what does time, what is the ingredient of time? Well, me. You see, me lives in time. Me is a function of time. And if there's no more time, there's no more me. That's death, you see. So we do everything we can to avoid this abyss. The double bind the double bind is kind of like the end of the pirate's plank. And we're walking off, and there's a sword behind us that is the double bind. And there's sharks there, and there's a knife behind you. So you can't go back, and you can't go forward. But you are being moved towards the edge, you see. So this is like being moved towards the edge of what? Of now. Okay? So this abyss that has no more time is the timeless, is now. There's no time now as we're talking right now. We're just talking. This is just now. I'm not trying to, we're not trying to get somewhere out of now, in, well, a better moment, you know, when you'll learn something. No, we're just being here now, looking at something together. And let's shift down here and look at this for a minute. So we all live, when we live in time, which is the world, I mean, this world is constructed out of time. We're all going, the bell rings, you got to get up and go somewhere, you got to get up and go to work. The bell rings, you come home, I'm going to watch the TV show in an hour. You know, we're always moving towards doing something. In a few moments, we can just sit and say, no more time. You see, but then something calls and I've got more time. So we live in this world of time as a self who is living in time, being whipped and driven by time, you see, looking for a way out of time. Back to the garden. So the feeling of living in time is win, lose. The game we play in time is that I win and someone else loses. The world loses. I win the lotteries. No one else wins the lottery. I'm number one. To be number one, that means you win. And to be number one, or to win, somebody else has to lose. Someone, something, something. You can't, you know, so this is a duality in which we live in. And me, this is me, wants to be the winner, and the world or other people or combat or conflict or whatever is our opponent in the world of time. So there's always this conflict with time as a contest. You get a grasp of that. Now, when the double bind is activated, you see, when the double bind is activated, we find ourselves in a lose. We find ourselves not in a win-lose, but in a lose-lose. So me is conflicted. Me is put in a straitjacket. Me is trapped in a perfect cage where there is no way to get a win. So it's lose-lose. And what happens in a lose-lose is that you go into a tape loop, or it's the mythological symbol of the tape loop is the Ouroboros. Okay? The Ouroboros is thought, or me, eating itself, which is like you take a microphone and stick it up against an amplifier and it goes wow, 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 wow. That's a panic attack. That's worry. That's anxiety. That's the fear that you can't get out. The fear that you are going to be consumed not by somebody else, but by yourself. You see, this when we can't get out into a win, when we no longer have a strategy in time to win and to be me in number one, we tape loop when the lose-lose double bind happens, and it happens all the time. when that happens, we get into a self-consuming, self-magnifying tape loop or whirlpool of energy, of thought, and thought tries to get out. We all know this: lose the car keys, and you run around the house, and you keep looking under the same thing twice. Maybe I missed it that time. You look under magazines. You look in every pocket 5 times. You're tape looping. Thought can't find the keys, so it keeps looking in the same place, until you just. I talked about my mother, when she lost her car keys, and she kept tape looping until she realized that she was in a lose-lose and just quit, and then she found the car keys. So the lose-lose drives us to the point of what? Surrender. It drives us to surrender of what? Of time and me. You see, when time goes, me goes. You got that idea? When there's no time, there's no me. When there is time, there's me. Time and me rise together. They're like fish in the water. You can't have me when there's no time. And when time appears, me appears. We can sense that. We can understand that. So when I'm in a double bind and I see that no matter what I do, and I've tried everything, no matter what I do, will not get me out of the fix, something happens spontaneously. Not by effort, because effort is a means to an end, you see. Effort is in time. Effort is to get something in time. But when time is no more, which is what happens when we realize that effort will not get us out of time, there comes a moment of spontaneous surrender. And now this is the truth. When there is spontaneous surrender, there is seeing. Okay? In other words, when we are me in time, me sees no way out. When there is no way out for me, me surrenders. Actually, me doesn't surrender. Me dies. Me just collapses upon its own effort. It's like the oscillation, and I think we all experience this too, is that when we get into a Ouroboros, a tape loop, if we can't medicate it, we can't drink it, we can't kill it, in other words, at some point, it just collapses. It gets to be such a speed that it just collapses. Eckhart Tolle described this as his awakening. He got into an Ouroboros of a tape loop until finally it just exploded and he was awake. So awakening, which is seeing, happens when we get in a double bind that collapses me in time. Seeing is timeless. When you just see, you're not seeing to get to something. You're seeing what is, as it really is. Everything at once. You see the whole room. When we're in time, we're seeing with a flashlight. I look at that and I want to get there, and I'm afraid of what's over there, so I look over there and I look there, you see. But everything's fragmented. When I see, the light comes on, I see the whole thing. Wide angle lens. Boom, I see everything in one grasp. One seeing. There's no time there. When I'm using a flashlight, I'm in time. Well, I see that and I want to get to where I see everything. So I have to use a flashlight to piece together the whole room under the illusion that if I put together enough pieces with the flashlight, I'll see the whole room. But you see, in reality, the room is always changing. You see that? If I'm looking at life through, if I'm trying to see the whole room with a flashlight, and the room, and somebody is constantly moving the room around, which is what life is, I say, oh, there's a sofa, and I look over there, and oh, there's a chair, and then I look back here, oh, the sofa's moved, and I look, and then I look, oh, now there's another chair, and I don't know what's over there. I'll look, oh, there's a TV, and then I look, no, somebody's put a new TV there. You see what I mean? You never see the whole room. So if you realize that you can't see the whole room with the flashlight, suddenly you drop the mic and you see. But you can't see until you drop the flashlight. So you can't see until you drop me. And you can't, there's no effort that can drop me, because me is the one that's doing the effort. Me can't have an effort to drop me. That's the double mind. So we get into this lose-lose thing, which becomes the catch-22, the vortex that is terrifying, because we feel like we're losing our being in a vortex, which is me. Me feels like it's being dissolved, cast, you know, whoa, 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 you know, like that, you know. So we're afraid to rest with that. The only way out, you see, is to invite the double bind and see, oh, isn't this interesting? This is a double bind. And to be okay with it, to rest with it, to see where it's going to go, to go into it, like in the Johnny Depp's Caribbean movies, you know, the Pirates of the Caribbean. Remember that big whirlpool? He goes into the whirlpool. So you go into the vortex, you allow it to be there. You don't run from it. You don't panic. You feel the panic, but you're okay. I'm going to go through this. I'm okay with this. It's okay that I'm going to lose. And as soon as I'm okay with the lose, me stops resisting it, you see. Or you stop. You're not me. That's the problem. The me is a little self in time, but reality now is timeless. So the timeless you is just waiting there for me to drop its flashlight. And when me drops its flashlight and gives up, you as seeing are born. And now you drop into a win-win. When you see the whole room, there's no conflict with anything in the room. There's no conflict with the unknown. There's no conflict, there's no time. You need no time to get out of now, because now is okay. You see it. You see the whole room. You see the whole now, and it's okay. Now you're in a win-win dialogue with the world. Now I'm okay and the world is okay. Before, I'm okay and the world's not okay. Or the world's okay and I'm not okay. Conflict. I'm okay, the world is okay, because I see the whole thing. I'm not looking at the world with the flashlight. So let us end there, and we'll continue this dialogue and this looking at Adam's crack. Yeah, it's funny. And the perfect trap. And the difference between looking at the world with the flashlight of me in time and seeing the world as now. And I'll see you at Martini time at 5 o'clock.